Sis here from stampwithlorraine.com, and I'm going to share with you a tutorial today that's kind of like a triple whammy. I wanted to share with you a Slimline card because it's very trendy these days, but then I also wanted to share the Well Done stamp set and the DSP, and of course the coordinating whale punch that comes in the Whale of a Time suite. So I decided to combine both of those, and as I was doing that, I said, oh, what a great shaker card this is going to make. So you're going to get kind of 3-in-1 on this tutorial. So if you like it, give me a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to check out stampwithlorraine.com when the video's over. Okay, so this is the Well Done stamp set, and it comes with a whale, a jellyfish, a turtle, a seahorse, some coral, some seagrass, and a bunch of sayings. So it really is kind of fun. It has that a little watercolory look, which kind of makes sense for a sea theme. Comes with a coordinating punch as a bundle, so you can save 10% on the two of those. You get the whale, a little splash, and some little pieces that can give you the contrast for the belly and the eye and so forth. So once you stamp it, you'd flip it over and just punch it out like that. The whale punch also coordinates with some of the DSP, which it's 6x6 packet, and it has a lot of just subtle backgrounds with small prints or the water, ferns, things like that. But it also has some that are kind of neat little scenes. This one with the coral. Let me flip it over, and these have more of the animals. It's really cute sea turtles. Those are my favorite. I like those. Little scenery they work well for some of your bigger cards, or for scrapbooking, or for some wall art. So that's cool. Some whales, and all got all the animals there. These you can punch out with the punch. You have some different sizes, but these work with the big ones. So you have a lot of different cute options here with the fish and the seagrass and whatever. Okay, so I'm going to show you this card here. Slimline, because it's longer and narrow. Sometimes before the term slimline got popular, people used to call it a tall card, because if you made it this way, obviously it would be tall. So it's a slimline card made to actually fit into a regular business size envelope. You don't need special envelopes. It can fit right in there. And like I said, it's all the rage right now. Just look up slimline cards, Google it, and you'll see. But look how cute this is with a shaker and little sequins in there, and the seahorse, the sea turtle, and the little whale. I used one of the smaller whales. I tried using the punch, but he was too big for the window. So I just cut out one of the smaller ones, fussy cut it by hand. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So first, you're going to start with, if you have your regular size paper, 8.5 by 11, you're going to keep the 8.5. You're going to cut it down at 7 inches. Okay, so you cut it at 7 inches, score it at 3.5, and that's going to be the base of your card. What you would have left over is this. So what I did was, this is 4, so that's perfect for a layer on a lot of cards that we make. So I just cut that at 5 1/4, and I keep a cello bag of those pieces, so they're kind of handy. Just keep those close at hand, and then you have another piece for your scraps or for another project. Okay, so this is our card base. Then we need Pacific Point, a piece of 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. So it's basically enough to make a little layer on there. And we're going to use there's a little school of fish in the stamp set. So we're going to use that, and the little bubbles, just to make a little bit of a background along the top and the bottom edge. So just really quickly, I'm going to make them sort of go up and down, kind of like as fishies do. Just tone on tone, Pacific Point ink. Okay, these guys I'm going to make go the other way. Just a real quick border. And then same thing, tone on tone, going to use just the little dots that are kind of like the bubbles. And I'll do some stamped full strength and some stamped off, so kind of touch it twice and you'll get variety there. Trust me, with the other focal points, this isn't going to be seen all that much, but it will fill some space, which is nice. Okay, maybe I'll do a couple little bubbles on the side. There you go. Okay, so that's Pacific Point on Pacific Point. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to cut our circles, and we want to have them kind of centered. Okay, what I did on my first card was I was thinking of maybe varying the heights of the circles, and it turned out one of them was lower than, and the other two were too much the same. So I said, okay, we're going to find a way to make this even. So if this is 8 1/4, what we're going to do is find the center. So kind of like this, which is 4 1/8. So I'm going to measure it up on my grid paper. I'm going to find 4 1/8, and I'm going to mark that, and I'm going to be able to mark it right in the middle of this paper because it's going to be punched out. So I'm seeing this is the 4-inch line, so I'm going to mark halfway through to make 4 1/8, so I can just draw a line straight up there. Okay, and I'm just going to draw a line right in the middle because that's going to be punched out anyway. So we'll need a 2-inch punch for this. Okay, 2-inch circle punch, and I'm going to put it right in the middle here and line up that line pretty much right in the middle. And I'm going to just rest this as far in as it could go. It might be a little on the high side, but at least this way I know it's going to be straight. And it won't make much of a difference. Okay, so I have that line just eyeballing the center of the circle. I'm going to punch that out. Now the others, I can just center by using the sides of my punch, leaving a little bit on either side, and that will help center the whole thing. So again, if it's resting inside the punch, I know it will be a good alignment. I'll do the same thing over here. I'm not going to turn it around. I thought of turning it around because it was a little bit easier to hold. But like I said, it's just ever so slightly higher here than here. And if you turned it around, it's going to be a little bit off. So keep it the same direction. Just kind of do a little twister act. Okay. There you go. Okay, save these, of course, for another project some other day. And there you have your circles. Okay, so when I first started making this, I was saying, oh, it'd be great to take these, one of the DSPs and put it behind, like little windows. Okay, a little glimpse into the sea, that would be cute. Now, the one problem, we can work around it, it would be nice if this were longer, but it's 6 by 6, and obviously this is longer than 6. So we have to kind of piece a couple of them together. If it were all the way long, we could just use one strip behind. But it's okay because we can cut it and then just kind of feed this over a little bit so that you're not going to see the seam. So what I'm going to need for my background scene here is pieces that are I cut them at 2 3/4. This is a 2-inch circle. So you need it obviously bigger than the 2 inches. You don't want to go right to the top. And I tried at 2 1/4, but I said, well, sometimes I want a little flexibility to move. Well, I don't necessarily, like if it was cut here, I might say, well, I might want to have the option to move it here to get more of the greenery in there. So if you cut it at 2 3/4, you can kind of play around with what you want showing in your window, especially if you're going to put one of those little animals in there. You want to have some room, or depending on what you put in. So I cut that at, like I said, 2 3/4. This is already 2 3/4 high, so I'm going to think where I want that cut. So 2 3/4 is here, and so I think that'll be fine. All right, and then here, I really like this side a little bit more to have a little bit more of the white coral in there as something different. So you can play around with how you want to crop it to get the picture that you want. So, oh, I did 2.5, 2 3/4. I did the other one at 2.5, didn't I? Oh, well, it will work. We'll make it work. Like I said, as long as you don't go more than 2 1/4, it's okay. So yeah, I did 2.5. That's okay, because I still have some option to go up and down with it. So I have a little bit of wiggle room there still. So that's okay. And this one, I really like the red coral in there as something different. So I will trim that down. Maybe take a little off the side here. 2 3/4. Maybe a little off each side. So 2 3/4. Okay. So we have our 3 pieces. You can decide if it matters where you want them, how you want them mixed up. Okay, just kind of have that in mind. So then as I was doing this, I said, oh, this would be great to put a window sheet in there. This is even before I thought of the shaker card. So putting a window sheet, the window sheets come 8.5 by 11. And so I just cut one down to be 8 by 3. Again, a little shorter than, oops, static here, just a little smaller than the Pacific point. So that's going to go across the back there. And even if you didn't want to make this a shaker card, this adds a nice element, gives like a window, and looks really cool. Nice and shiny when you're looking at that. Okay, so now to make it into a shaker card, we need some depth between this and the bottom piece so that your little pieces that you want to put in there can move around a little bit. So this is how we do that. We take the foam sheets. They come 6 to a pack, and they're just square sheets. And I used the 3rd and 4th biggest size of the layering circles. Okay, so what I did first was cut the big one, because I found out that 2 of these big ones can fit on one sheet. I didn't want to do the smaller one first, because then if I was a little off, I wouldn't fit the 2. So I cut the big one first. These are a little slippery. It's like, feels like your dimensional dot. So this is glossy, and sometimes the die can move around a little bit. Even if you use your magnetic sheet, it doesn't hold as tightly because of the thickness of the foam. It holds a bit, but still it can be a little slippery. So use some washi tape. You can use this anytime you're die cutting anyway. Sometimes the magnets tend to pull a certain way, so you can use some washi tape to hold that down. So I ran that through the die cut machine, and I got the big circle. And then once I had that big circle, here it is here, I used the smaller die, put it right on top, and it ran through that, through the die cut machine, and then it gave me this ring. Okay, so I'll save these for another day, and I'm just going to use that ring part. Now, if you're doing a shaker card that has a square opening, a lot easier. You can just cut these to the size that you want. When you're doing a shaker card, you do want it all enclosed, because you don't want any of your pieces to fall out. Obviously, that would not be fun. So I have my 3 rings, and they are going to go on the back. So I'm just kind of going to show you. That'll go on the back there. We'll do that in a minute. So just have those ready, put those aside. So now we want the rings for the front to look like the porthole, you know, reinforcements there and the rivets. So I'm going to use my punches again. I want 2-inch punch for the inner part, and we're using 2.5 for the outer part. So we're going to do a similar thing as this, but just using the punches instead of the die cuts. Okay, so I have a strip, about 8.5 will work, because you want to get 3 of these in here, a strip of black. And what we're going to do is, we want a piece like that. So what I like to do is the smaller one first, just estimating, leaving some space for that extra 1/4 inch on each side. Do that one first, don't need that. And then the 2.5 inch punch will cut the ring. Because it's a lot easier to do that than to hold the ring and try to get the inner circle in there. There's no place to hold it. So one more time, we'll do the 2-inch punch. Hopefully I have enough room here. If not, I'll get another piece of paper. Okay, that should do it. And then the bigger one around it. Okay, and we're done with our punches. And this piece, don't need any more. Throw away the inner circles. And now we have our rings. Okay, so the rings will get glued onto the outer part here, the blue. That inner circle is a perfect match for your window. Okay, then I took a silver gel pen to make the rivets. So just a little mark on top, bottom, and then diagonals. Okay. All right, so now we're going to work on our shaker contents. I'll let that dry before I put the foam circles on. From the DSP, I cut out small turtle, a small whale, and I stamped the little seahorse, because I wanted a little seahorse there. So there's the little whale guy, here's the turtle, and there's a little seahorse. Now just wanted to show you a little something. Cutting up something like that, you have to love fussy cutting. But doing the seahorse, getting that little curve, the little circle inside there, for one thing, you don't have to go all the way. Obviously, it would be very difficult to get that little tiny piece inside. It's okay, it's not going to be seen so much. But here's a hint, when you are cutting it, and even when you're using the other seaside stamp with the seahorse, cut the inner side first, and the thinner parts first, because once you go around, trust me, I tried it. You're trying to hold this little tiny piece and trying to cut in there, it makes it very difficult. If you do that part first, you have the rest of the paper to hold on to. So I'm just going to start on that end and cut that inner part. So you have all this to help you turn around, and you can get in as far as you feel like you want to go. And then you could do the rest of it. You don't need to see me do all that, but that's the idea. So much easier if you have something to hold on to. So this one's already done, so we're going to go with that. And so when we put this together now, we just have to peel the stickiness off of one side of the ring and place it down. Okay, on each one. And notice on these rings there's a little bit of space. It's the inner circle is a little bit bigger than the cut circle in the Pacific Point, because I didn't want the white right up against where it might show. So I wanted just a little bit bigger. And obviously using die cuts is best on the foam, not your punches. Okay, so I'm going to lay those down on there. Okay, now we're going to lay out, figure out how we want this to go. So I think I'm going to do what I did. I'm going to do a little different. I'm going to have my whale here because that's a bigger space. I'm going to put my turtle over here because if I do the little seahorse there, it might be a little bit too busy. I think the seahorse will be seen nicely there. Okay, so you kind of figure out how you want it to lay out. And what we're going to do is we're going to peel the back off and lay it over there once we put some sequins in. And then we're going to trim away the excess. So with this comes the Whale of a Time sequins that has seaside colors and some little sequins that are shaped like little pink shells. So let me see if I could show you. You have those colors there, and here's the little pink scallop shells. So cute, you've got all those colors. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our cutout there, sprinkle some sequins on there, and we're going to peel off one circle at a time. Then I'm going to line it up to where I want the image, making sure your little sequins and contents are in the middle so you don't catch them in the foam. And I think I'll put it down here so we get a little bit more of the green. Okay, and then I'm going to press it down. Okay, and we have a little shaker in there. Isn't it adorable? I love it. Okay, now we're going to trim a little bit of this to make room for the next one so it's not adding too much thickness there. And I also realized when I go to glue this piece down, these won't be showing so much. So I'm just going to cut the corners a little bit there. Okay, so we do the same thing with the next one. Put the whale in the middle, put some sequins on there, peel off the backing, center it in, trim it down a little bit. Later I'm going to put dimensionals here, and I want them to go on the Pacific Point, not on this, because then it's going to pull away here. So I want to have plenty of room to put those dimensionals. So this is where I want to make sure I have extra room. Okay, and then the last one, my favorite. When I went to Hawaii, we did some snorkeling and we saw the sea turtles. It was so cool. And one of my souvenirs was a sea turtle charm that I wear on a gold necklace. Okay, so we peeled that off. And I'll press that down. All right, see those little guys moving around in there? Really cool. My grandson's coming over later today. I think he's going to love seeing this. He loves the sea animals. Mostly sharks and whales, but he'll tolerate the others. Okay, so all that's left to do now is to adhere it and put on our sentiment. So, like I said, we're just going to put that on there. I'm going to adhere it with dimensional dots because there's already thickness here. I can't put glue here because then it won't hold, it'll buckle too much. So obviously we need the same thickness as the foam circles. And I'm going to put one in each corner. And then in these little spaces between. Okay, confess, how many of you have a floor strewn with the backings of these dimensional dots? Raise your hand, say I do. They're just all over the place. Thank God for vacuums. Okay, come up, don't worry about it. Okay, so we're going to put that on there. And then you could add whatever sentiment you like. I chose the one from the set that says, "My love for you was bigger than the ocean." Your other settings are "Thanks a ton," "Well done," the little pun, "You're kind of a big deal." Again, if you have the whale, "Hoping your birthday fishes come true." Leave it to Stampin' Up! To have the little pun sayings once in a while. Okay, so what I did with that, I just embossed in white. Didn't need to see me do that, but I embossed in white on a piece of black that is 5/8 inches because I didn't want it too thick because I wanted it to kind of go across the corner there, or you can put it wherever you like. I had a little bit more room on my original at the top, so I'm going to kind of play around with that. I'm going to cut it down to be as narrow as I can, because there isn't a whole lot of room on this particular card. And of course, got to pop it up with dimensional dots. When I did this, and often I do this, I will do, if I have a big strip, I'll do 2 or 3 just to make sure I could pick the one that looks best. Sometimes it doesn't come out so great or it's a little crooked. So something to keep in mind. If you're doing one, just as easy to do 2. Or if they both come out well, then you have one for another time. Slip it in a little envelope and keep it in your stamp case. All right, so we're going to put some dimensionals on here. For this narrow, I'm just going to use the little half pieces on the side. Okay, and I also want to cut the corners. For 2 reasons. It'll fit a little bit better, and it kind of reminds me of sort of like an old-fashioned sign or something you might find. You know, the labels on a ship, you know, might not be so squared, might kind of have that shape. So the other one I did up here, maybe no, I do like it on the top corner for some reason. All right, so I'm going to do that. One, 2, 3. And my first one, when I embossed it, didn't come out quite as clear as this. If you look, kind of looks like this, but I kind of like that look too because it kind of looks weathered, kind of the way the images are in this suite. So it kind of matched. So wasn't bad, but look how cute. How cute is that? I know a lot of you have little guys, or even the big kids will like to play with that. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that card. A lot of fun. Now for that bonus that I promised you at the beginning of my video. Here is the envelope that you could use it with, but a little boring. Let's toss that away and do something a little bit more exciting. You can take your 8.5 by 11 card sheet and make a coordinating envelope. Or why not use some of that DSP that you have a lot of laying around? Make something coordinating. I chose the cardstock just because this is a little bit sturdier card and it might need a little bit more protection. So here you go. And voila, you have a great envelope for your special card, your Slimline card. You can decorate it, of course, stamp it, put some die cuts on, whatever you like, but look how special that is. Peel that off the last second, of course. Okay, so hope you enjoyed. Come back soon. Bye-bye.